Hey, Raj Jeff from Practice Alchemy. Today I want to talk to you about hire or hide. And it's a point that a lot of attorneys reach in their practice growth, where they are thinking, should I hire someone or should I just kind of hide? Let's keep my head down and keep on doing what I'm doing. And the observation that I've had and the realization that I've come to over years is that almost every attorney hires too late, because they're hiring at a point where it's already a crisis. And I understand that feeling, that chicken and the egg problem. It's like, well, I want enough work to make sure that I have the revenue to hire an associate or a paralegal or some staff to help me with it. But the problem with that thinking is that by the time you have that much work, you're not able to really adequately supervise, delegate, and train the employee. So usually it's too late, and what happens is you're overflowing with work, and it's like, okay, now I can think about hiring, but I don't really have the space to make the best hire because I don't have the time. So you don't give that hiring process adequate thought, and you end up with taking, well, I'll interview 3 and pick 1, which is the worst hiring process that was ever invented, right? I'll interview 3 and pick the best of the 3. It doesn't mean that any one of the 3 will even be the best fit for your particular practice. So that's already too late if you're at the point where you can pay for them, but you're extremely full, because it ends up being a dump and run. You hire someone and well, I've got so much stuff, you dump it on their desk, and then you still have to manage it and supervise it as you train them. It ends up being too late. So those practices that operate that way have an unusually high failure rate for their hires, because they really haven't give the hire the space to understand how their practice works and put together actually a process manual for how you want things to be dealt with. So while it sometimes can be a stretch, the better way to do it is to hire before the revenue is 100% there. And I know for a lot of folks that seems like it's an absolute impossibility, but it really corrects itself very quickly. I was in that position hiring my first associate, and the original thought was that, well, maybe we should hire a contractor just on a part-time basis. But instead, by biting the bullet and hiring a full-time person, an interesting thing happened. Even though that would mean that I would take a haircut on my personal income because I was now paying for someone else who, as the owner of the business, they eat first, not me. So it's a very, very important concept. You pay your employees first. It allowed me to have, first of all, the space to train, and second of all, the space to go out and market and get more business. And an interesting thing happens when you kind of make what seems like a gamble, which is you use that extra time and that kind of fire that it lights under you that, well, I've got to actually make this work, and it actually forces you to grow the practice, because you start looking for ways to make your marketing generate enough business to support the hire. So while it seems like a chicken and egg problem that you don't have the money, in actuality, it may be a short one, but it's not a big one. And the other thing, of course, to remember is if you're hiring a staff member, and let's say it's for $70,000 a year, I'm just picking a number, you don't write a check for $70,000 on day one. So that number in your head is actually not the true number. It's actually, you divide that by 12, and that's actually the cost of that employee. So thinking about it that way, as in you're getting 100% of the value of that employee, right, from day one, but you're not paying 100% of the salary, is a really interesting way to think about it. And that means that you can plan for, I need this many months of runway to generate how much business to cover that associate. And once you've done this a couple of times, it gets easier, because the entity gets big enough, the firm, the practice gets big enough that you no longer have that kind of deadlock issue of needing enough revenue. But for the first few times, it's almost like a leap of faith. But I would encourage you to start thinking that way. If you are thinking about waiting until you have enough revenue to hire that associate, you are probably going about it a little bit too late. And if you're worried about, well, what if the revenue doesn't materialize, it really does light a fire under you, and you start researching. And it's one of the points at which a lot of people come to our programs, because they know that they now need to generate more revenue, whether that be through our marketing services or through thinking about their practice differently in our practice growth program. That's one of the points at which they come to us to actually get organized, and that allows them to take it to the next level, because they can use these strategies to actually get more clarity around how they should plan and how they should market. And that lets them successfully hire and not have it be a failure because they've overloaded that person with insufficient training. So if this is interesting to you and you want to talk about how our programs might be able to help you, you can book a quick 10-minute call with our practice growth team, and we can talk about if and how we can help you. You should see a little link on this screen. You can just go to that link and you can go straight to our booking program where you can book a quick 10-minute conversation, and we'll talk about where you are, where you want to go, and if and how we can help you.